Ladies and gentlemen, every person in this room carries pain. Some visible, some hidden, some recent, some buried deep in silence. Pain from failure, pain from rejection, pain from betrayal, pain from loss. And the real question is not why pain exists. The real question is, what are you doing with it? Because pain can either break you or it can build you. And today, if you stay with me until the end, you will learn how the very thing that hurt you, disappointed you, or nearly destroyed you can become the greatest source of your strength, discipline, and success. This is not a speech about avoiding pain. This is a speech about using it. Pain is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Most people see it as a curse, a punishment, or something to avoid at all costs. They wish life would spare them the struggle, the heartbreak, the disappointment. But the truth is far different. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every moment of pain carries a lesson, even if it is hidden at first. Pain exposes what needs attention in your life. It reveals weaknesses in your character, flaws in your thinking, and gaps in your habits. If you ignore it, it continues to hurt you. But if you listen carefully, it can guide you toward growth, improvement, and ultimately power. Think about it. Every person who has achieved anything remarkable has faced pain. No one became wise, strong, or successful by avoiding struggle. Pain is what wakes us up. It forces us to pay attention to our choices, our behaviors, and our direction in life. It is the alarm clock we often ignore until the discomfort becomes unbearable. But once we answer its call, it becomes a powerful teacher. Pain teaches patience. It shows us that life is not instant and that meaningful growth takes time. When we experience failure, rejection, or loss, it teaches us humility. It reminds us that we are human, that we are fallible, and that we must learn and adapt. And most importantly, pain teaches resilience. It shows us that even when life knocks us down, we have the strength to rise again. The key is how we interpret pain. Most people react with anger, bitterness, or despair. They see it as a personal attack or as evidence that life is unfair. But the most successful people view pain differently. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to improve myself? This shift in perspective is where transformation begins. When you see pain as a teacher, you take control of it instead of letting it control you. Pain also teaches focus. It clarifies priorities. When something hurts deeply, it forces us to ask the hard questions. What really matters? What am I willing to change to improve my life? These questions help us refine our goals and align our actions with what is truly important. Pain removes distractions and exposes the core areas in which we need to grow. Finally, pain teaches gratitude. Once we endure hardship, we appreciate the small victories, the everyday comforts, and the moments of joy that we once took for granted. It builds character in ways comfort never can. Pain refines, molds, and strengthens us, preparing us for the challenges and responsibilities ahead. So remember, this pain is not punishment. It is not a sign that life is against you. It is a teacher, a guide, and a tool. Every uncomfortable moment carries a lesson waiting to be learned. The more you embrace it, the stronger, wiser, and more empowered you become. Pain will always visit, but it is your response that determines whether it becomes a prison or a classroom. Listen carefully, learn consistently, and let your pain transform into your greatest power. Pain is inevitable. Every human being, without exception, will experience moments of struggle, disappointment, and loss. It is part of life's natural rhythm. But here is the most important truth you must understand. Pain itself does not define your life. Your response to it does. Two people can experience the same setback. One crumbles, the other rises. One becomes bitter, resentful, and defeated. The other becomes stronger, wiser, and more determined. The difference is not in the pain they both suffered, but in the response. This is where the real power lies. When you feel hurt, the natural instinct is to react emotionally. You might lash out, blame others, or retreat into comfort. These reactions may feel justified at the moment, but they are temporary solutions that create long-term limitations. Pain left unchecked can become an anchor that weighs you down for years. But pain that is confronted with intention, discipline, and perspective can become a rocket fuel that propels you toward your greatest achievements. Think of it this way: pain is a test. Every challenge life throws at you is an opportunity to make a choice. Will you allow it to defeat you, or will you use it as a stepping stone? The people who achieve extraordinary success do not escape pain, they harness it. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger? Your response to pain begins with awareness. Acknowledge the discomfort. Don't ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist. Name it, face it, and understand it. Once you do, you can take control instead of letting it control you. It's the difference between being a victim and being a victor. The next step is action. Pain without action keeps you trapped in fear and regret. But taking intentional steps, small or large, changes the narrative. When you act, you shift your focus from what went wrong to what can be done next. Action transforms the emotional energy of pain into productive energy that builds strength, confidence, and resilience. Another crucial part of your response is perspective. Pain is often temporary, but the lessons it offers are permanent. Ask yourself, how will I look back on this in 1 year? What wisdom can I take from this moment? When you see pain as a teacher rather than an enemy, It loses its power to paralyze you and gains power to educate you. Finally, remember that your response shapes your identity. Every time you respond with courage, discipline, and persistence, you reinforce the person you are becoming. Your choices today become the foundation of your future. Consistently responding to challenges with strength builds character, and character becomes your most valuable asset. So the next time life brings pain, and it will, don't ask, why me? Instead, ask, how will I respond? Because the answer determines your trajectory. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. Your response is the key that turns pain into power. Pain alone does not create power. Pain alone can leave you frustrated, angry, and defeated. The missing ingredient that transforms suffering into personal strength is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between hardship and growth, between struggle and success. Without it, pain remains just pain. With it, pain becomes the foundation of your greatness. When life hurts, the easiest response is to give in to feelings of despair. We procrastinate. We indulge in comfort. We avoid responsibility. But every time we choose comfort over discipline, we allow pain to weaken us instead of strengthen us. Discipline, on the other hand, is a conscious choice to act regardless of how we feel, to remain committed even when the circumstances are uncomfortable, and to follow through on what we know is right. Discipline is what turns the lessons of pain into lasting results. It is what allows us to rise every morning, even when our hearts are heavy. It is what drives us to keep working on ourselves, even when progress feels slow. Discipline is not just about doing what is easy, it is about doing what is necessary. And when we do this consistently, something remarkable happens. The energy we used to spend worrying or complaining is redirected into growth, resilience, and achievement. Consider the examples of successful individuals throughout history. Every one of them faced failure, rejection, and heartbreak, yet they chose discipline. They developed habits and routines that carried them forward. Even when motivation was absent, they treated their pain as a signal to act, not a reason to stop. Discipline gave them structure in the midst of chaos and focus in the middle of uncertainty. Discipline also teaches patience. Growth rarely happens overnight. Pain can feel relentless, and immediate results may not appear. But those who persist through routine, consistent action, who remain disciplined despite discomfort, eventually see the fruits of their effort. Discipline makes pain meaningful by connecting it to progress and eventual success. Another aspect of discipline is self-control. Pain can tempt us into destructive behavior, blaming others, indulging in harmful habits, or giving up entirely. Discipline allows us to resist these impulses and maintain our integrity. It reminds us that the power of our choices matters more than the intensity of our emotions. Each disciplined decision strengthens character and reinforces our ability to overcome future challenges. Finally, discipline transforms mental toughness. When you repeatedly choose action over avoidance, perseverance over quitting, and growth over comfort, you are essentially training your mind to be resilient. The very struggles that once threatened to break you become the experiences that make you unshakable. Pain is still present, but you no longer fear it, you use it. Pain without discipline can destroy. Pain with discipline can build. The difference lies in your willingness to act consistently, to maintain habits, and to choose responsibility even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline turns your suffering into strength, your struggles into skills, and your setbacks into stepping stones. Pain is inevitable. Discipline is optional. And your decision to embrace it determines whether your life is defined by weakness or by power. Pain is rarely enjoyable. It challenges us, tests our patience, and forces us to confront realities we might rather ignore. Yet, if we look closely, we notice a powerful truth. Pain does not just happen to us, it works on us. It is a refining force, shaping our character long before it delivers the success we seek. Every great achievement in history was preceded by trials and suffering. The inventor who finally changes the world first faces countless failed experiments. The entrepreneur who builds an empire first experiences loss and disappointment. The leader who inspires millions first wrestles with doubt and struggle. Pain is the workshop in which character is formed even when the rewards are not yet visible. Character is built in the small, daily choices we make when life is hard. When pain enters our lives, it tests our integrity. Do we respond with honesty or deceit, with patience or anger, with perseverance or resignation? Each response to adversity becomes a brick in the foundation of our character. Over time, these bricks accumulate, forming a resilient, disciplined, and capable individual ready for greater responsibilities. Pain also teaches humility. When things go wrong, it reminds us that we are not invincible, that we are fallible, and that growth requires learning. Humility opens our minds to new ideas and allows us to accept guidance, mentorship, and constructive feedback, tools that success alone cannot teach. Without the refining influence of pain, arrogance can develop and opportunities for growth are easily missed. Another way pain refines character is by developing resilience. Life is unpredictable. Setbacks will occur. Losses will happen. Pain teaches us how to rise repeatedly even when the world seems to push us down. Resilience is not a talent. It is cultivated through endurance, repeated challenges, and the decision to keep moving forward. Each trial strengthens our mental, emotional, and spiritual capacity to handle greater challenges in the future. Patience is yet another gift of pain. In the midst of suffering, the outcomes we desire often feel distant or unattainable. Pain teaches us to endure, to wait, and to trust the process. Those who allow themselves to be refined by their struggles understand that immediate results are rare and that success is often a byproduct of consistent effort over time. Finally, pain develops empathy and compassion. When we experience suffering firsthand, we understand the struggles of others. We become more compassionate leaders, better friends, and wiser mentors. This human connection is a vital element of true success. It allows us to inspire and guide others in ways that are meaningful and lasting. Success is the visible reward, the external acknowledgement, the achievement we strive for. But character is the invisible power, the internal strength, discipline, and integrity that allows us to sustain and enjoy that success. Pain works silently and relentlessly on our character, preparing us for the very success we seek. So remember, before success appears, pain must refine you. Before victory is celebrated, struggles must teach you. The hardships you endure are not random. They are carefully shaping the person who is capable of receiving and sustaining the power, influence, and accomplishments that lie ahead. Pain is the crucible. Character is the gold. Success is the reward. Pain is a reality of life. But what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stuck is how they treat it. Some people let pain become their excuse. They say, I can't do this because life has been unfair to me. Or I'll never succeed because of what I've been through. And in doing so, they give power to their suffering instead of taking it away. But the truly successful understand a simple truth: pain can either be your excuse or your fuel. It cannot be both. Every setback, failure, or heartbreak carries energy within it. That energy is neutral. It is neither positive nor negative. What matters is how you harness it. If you allow pain to dictate your mindset, you waste that energy on resentment, fear, or self-pity. But if you use it intentionally, that same energy becomes motivation, drive, and determination. Pain, when used correctly, fuels action. Consider the most inspiring people in the world. They did not achieve greatness by avoiding suffering. They achieved greatness by channeling it. They took the frustration of failure and turned it into persistence. They converted disappointment into strategy. They transformed rejection into preparation for the next opportunity. The power of pain comes not from the hardship itself, but from how it is applied. Using pain as fuel begins with mindset. You must consciously decide that every negative experience has a purpose. Ask yourself, what lesson can I take from this? How can I turn this setback into an advantage? This simple shift from victimhood to ownership transforms the emotional weight of pain into actionable energy. Next, fuel is useless if it is not ignited. Pain becomes powerful only when it drives you to improve, to learn, to work harder, or to pursue a goal with renewed intensity. Each step forward, no matter how small, converts emotional energy into tangible progress. This is the key difference between someone who languishes in suffering and someone who rises above it. Pain can also refine your purpose. Many people discover their calling in the midst of their trials. When life challenges us deeply, it forces reflection. We ask hard questions. What truly matters? What am I willing to fight for? Who do I want to become? These questions often lead to clarity that comfort and ease could never provide. Pain fuels not only action, but also insight into our personal mission. Finally, using pain as fuel builds resilience. Every time you confront difficulty and continue moving forward, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances. The next challenge will feel less intimidating because you know deep within that you have survived before and you will survive again. Pain, once harnessed, creates unstoppable momentum. The choice is yours. You can let pain define you, weaken you, and limit you, or you can let it propel you, teach you, and empower you. The same circumstances, the same suffering, the same hardship. It is not the events themselves, but your response that determines the outcome. Remember, pain is inevitable, but being defeated by it is optional. Let it fuel you, not excuse you. Let it drive you to become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. When you master this, the very thing that hurt you becomes the source of your power. Pain is rarely convenient. It comes uninvited, at unexpected times, and often in ways that seem unfair. And yet, if you look closely at the lives of those who achieve extraordinary success, you will see a pattern. Their greatest purpose often emerges from their deepest pain. Pain is not only a teacher, a motivator, or a test. It is a compass that points toward the mission you were meant to fulfill. Think about it. Many of the most impactful innovations, creations, and acts of leadership in history were born from struggle. A parent who has endured loss becomes an advocate for children in need. A person who has faced failure builds systems that prevent others from failing the same way. Pain creates perspective. It sharpens your vision of what matters most and what is worth pursuing. The first step in turning pain into purpose is reflection. Ask yourself, what have I endured? What have I learned? What is my experience teaching me? Pain often forces clarity. It strips away distractions, removes what is unnecessary, and highlights what is essential. In moments of suffering, we often discover values, passions, and priorities that were hidden beneath the comfort and routine of daily life. Next, channel that insight into action. Purpose is not a thought, it is a commitment demonstrated through consistent effort. Use the lessons learned from pain to guide your choices, shape your goals, and inspire your work. When you align your actions with the wisdom gained through hardship, every challenge becomes a stepping stone toward your mission. Pain is transformed from a burden into a source of creative energy. Another key aspect of pain-born purpose is empathy. Experiencing hardship allows you to understand the struggles of others in a deep and authentic way. This empathy enables you to lead, teach, and serve more effectively. Your pain becomes a bridge that connects you to people, ideas, and opportunities that you may have overlooked otherwise. What once seemed like suffering now becomes a channel for positive impact. Pain also fuels perseverance. Once you have endured the fire of difficulty, you develop an inner fortitude that cannot be shaken easily. Purpose, rooted in the lessons of pain, gives you a reason to persist even when the journey is long, uncertain, or exhausting. It transforms endurance from a chore into a calling. Finally, embracing your pain as the foundation for purpose transforms your mindset. You begin to see life's hardships not as setbacks, but as signposts. Every challenge becomes meaningful. Every struggle becomes instructional. Every failure becomes an opportunity to rise stronger, wiser, and more focused. Pain ceases to be something to avoid. It becomes a pathway to significance. Remember this: your purpose is often hidden in the chapters of life you wish you could skip. Your struggles, disappointments, and heartbreaks are the soil in which your mission grows. The clarity, determination, and resilience that come from overcoming pain are what enable you to fulfill your highest potential. So when life challenges you, when it hurts, when it feels unbearable, look for the lesson, the insight, and the purpose within it. Because often your true calling is waiting to be discovered in the very moments that once caused you the most pain. Pain is not wasted. Pain is preparation. Pain is the birthplace of purpose.